So hi, my name is Alexander Sovronsky. I'm a local musician, composer, actor, and Shakespeare scholar. And normally I don't do this kind of stuff with any type of visual aid, so you can just kind of, this is, I guess helpful if it can be, but mainly the work that I do is about Shakespeare and Shakespeare's text. So the images you're going to see are, the first couple ones are me in various productions to get a sense of like the kind of work that I do as an actor-musician at theaters around the country. And then also we're going to be looking at some slides of Shakespeare's reconstructed Globe Theatre in London in the UK, and also a production of Romeo and Juliet that they did on their stage there. And there's two slides in there of what's called a broadside ballad that I'll be talking about, and I'll explain that in a second. So that is my introduction. Basically, the work that I've been doing as a musician and a composer has been to investigate Shakespeare's music. All the work that I've seen on the topic is all about the original songs, the original instrumentation, and things like that. But I was always wondering why. As an actor, we delve into Shakespeare's text with a lot of specificity, and we're able to pick apart the monologues and the scenes that Shakespeare writes with incredible attention to detail. But when we get to songs and song lyrics, we just kind of skip over them and go, and then there's a song. And it always seemed a bit bizarre to me as an actor that was told that everything is there for a reason. It seemed like no one had a good reason for these songs being there, and no one had any good textual support or any understanding of why they were there. So the work that I started doing about 7 years ago at various universities around the country was to discover the why. So what I discovered is that obviously Shakespeare uses a lot of music and song in his plays, and sometimes it's music that the audience would have known. Meaning if you went to a play and you were part of his audience at the time that he was writing, you might hear songs that you're hearing on the street every day that you can actually sing along to in the theater. And now that when we go to Shakespeare now, that never really happens because there's a sort of reverence of the text. So that when you're going to go see a play, you might expect a song that Ophelia sings, for instance, in like Hamlet, to be a certain lyric, which indeed most directors will keep. And that eliminates the ability of bringing your own connection to the text because we're not using a song that you would know. Make sense? So Shakespeare does this very consciously. Sometimes it's songs the audience knows. Sometimes it's original songs that the actors and the composers and in the cast themselves would create specifically for that production to ensure that everyone in that audience was having the same experience of the play, hearing things for the very first time. Shakespeare also puts song in his plays themselves as text. Meaning, if I was doing a play right now, if I was doing a contemporary piece and you came to see a play that I was doing and that I wrote, and someone said, hey man, we all live in a yellow submarine, like everyone would get that reference and we'd move on. And it's not just there so that the audience can kind of have a little chuckle of recognition, but it's actually there in Shakespeare's usage to actually deepen the audience's experience of the play itself. That the song that he's referencing has a complete connection to that character, to that moment, to that emotional state of that character, whatever it may be. And because we don't have a connection to that original material, we've lost all of those beautiful moments that Shakespeare's put in this text for us. So it became my self-proclaimed mission to figure out how on earth we can try to recapture some of that. Because again, coming from an actor's point of view, everything's there for a reason. So what if I believe in trying to reinvigorate this text and this language for the 21st century? Then the music kind of sometimes gets left behind. So it's a question of what can we do to do the same with that. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a song, like in Twelfth Night, there's a bunch of songs that are a bunch of drinking songs that the characters have in a row. And sometimes it's a matter of saying, well, I think there's license to change that. We'll talk about this in a second. To change those songs to something that the audience would be able to sing along to, which is Shakespeare's original intention. Other times, the songs are so deeply embedded into the text themselves that to change them would actually be more of a distraction than an actual moment of inclusion, because we, as a society now, have so elevated Shakespeare that there's an expectation as to what we're going to see. So if the audience doesn't hear a certain lyric or hear a certain song that they're expecting, it actually might jar them more than draw them in. So Shakespeare had this lovely ability to, because he was doing things for the first time, to do whatever he wanted. But now we're kind of stuck in this way of balancing form and balancing intention. What you just saw were two broadside ballads. That's how music was printed in Shakespeare's time. It was a piece of paper or a piece of vellum or whatever it may be in parchment with a little woodcut and then a bunch of text on it. Basically, so that was a song, but you'll notice there's no music because the literacy rate was pretty pathetic back then. But more importantly, people that could read music were of the noble class. But if you could read, you at least could remember tunes. So the The ballads that you just saw was a ballad called Francis's New Jig, and that one is used in Romeo and Juliet as a reference, and I'll explain that in just one moment. But it says at the top of it, to the tune of, and then a little tune that everyone would have been able to sing along to. So if I had new lyrics printed out and I said to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, we could all sing along because we all knew the tune. It's very similar in Shakespeare's time with these ballads. In Romeo and Juliet, there's a great moment where the two lovers meet at a ball. And what's really cool, coming from an actor's point of view, is that you learn that when they meet, they actually form a perfect sonnet, meaning a love poem. So their actual dialogue, their back and forth before their first kiss, forms a perfect sonnet. So for the actors, it's a great little clue telling them, like, these people are obviously meant to be together. They're forming a perfect sonnet. But what people don't know is that throughout that entire sonnet is a song reference, a song about this guy that's hitting on his neighbor's wife. And it's a song called Francis's New Jig. There's also a number of other songs that are littered throughout the play in similar fashions, that if you don't know the original songs, you're not going to hear those words, right? So what I did is I went through the play, and I picked out the various moments of those different songs, and I picked out the text that Shakespeare's utilizing, and I created a new song. Right before Romeo and Juliet meet, they actually meet at a ball, and they dance together, or at least near enough to one another that they notice each other. And what I've done in various productions of this play throughout the country is put this song that I'm about to play for you right before they actually meet, so that when they actually do start speaking their text, you actually hear the words that they're picking out of the song, so that hopefully we're trying to recapture and maybe highlight a bit more of what Shakespeare's original intention would have been. When Romeo and Juliet first meet, they're speaking lines like, if I profane with mine worthiest hand, the gentle fine, this sin is this, my lips two blushing pilgrims ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. It's all about pilgrims and shrines and palms and palmers and saints. So now the song you're going to hear now is going to be a little bit of that. I'll just do a little bit of it. As I went to Walsingham to the shrine with speed, met I my love, a jolly palmer, in a pilgrim's weed. She sometime loved me as her life was as the heavens fair. None hath a form so divine on the earth in the air. Their fame did sound so passingly, it did pierce the starry sky, and throughout all the world did fly. She sometime loved me as her life was as the heavens fair. None hath a form so divine on the earth in the air. Thanks a lot.